7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hello, and welcome to Depraved Indifference to Intelligent Life. This week, or today, because this isn't a weekly little thing, but because I did this whole little wonderful contest, fun little game with the 7 Days of Saw that is ending tonight. So, any of you who are playing it out there, don't forget to get those videos watched, find those numbers and send them in. But I wanted to talk about the Saw movies in general and why I like them, why I enjoy watching them. Because it's something that I know, I've heard lots of people talk about them. I've heard them referred to as torture porn, being all gross and, gory just for the sake of it. You see people getting tortured and horrible things happening to them. Yes, that's a thing. It exists. But I don't think the Saw movies fall into that category. I don't think they are technically torture porn. There is torture involved, but I don't think that they're in it. You're not watching it really rooting for the people that are in these situations to end up in, end up hurt or killed. At least I don't. When I watch the movies, what really gets me is the fact that pretty much almost every single time, every single death trap that somebody finds themselves in, especially if Jigsaw, aka John Kramer, is the one that has set it up, you will find that they all have the opportunity to save themselves. They aren't immediately consigned to death. It's all of their own doings or their own inability to do what's necessary. Because he always sets out to not to kill them, but simply to test them to see if they have the will to survive. And he makes mention of this point in a couple of the movies, that's what he does. He doesn't kill people. He just tests to see if they have the will to survive in the face of the adversity he inflicts on them. And that and the story about it, the fact that you have these characters put in these extreme situations, and what are they going to do? What's the, what would they do when faced with such a thing? I can look at a character archetype from what I've seen in the first little bit of the movie and go, well, they might do this, but I can also see ways where they wouldn't, where they might do something entirely different, and the branching paths and so on. So I find that fascinating, and there's quite a few scenes in the Saw movies that have me cringing and kind of looking away, going, "Oh God, no! Ooh, I don't like it," because it's not the gore and the torture and that I get off on, if you could say that I get off on the movies. What gets me off is the story, the fact that you have all these people, all throughout the years, throughout all these movies, that are all intertwined, and the way the story interlocks. It's kind of grown a little bit, and some of the later entries weren't as good, but the way the stories all kind of interlock together is what fascinates me. And the character of John Kramer himself, the kind of cult that he builds up around him over the movies, the fact that you've got these people that are trying to save others from these traps, especially in number 6, the 6th movie, where you have the insurance agent, the guy who owns an insurance company for medical insurance, that has denied people's claims because of a formula that he created. And the tests were designed to put his formula to the test by having him be involved in other people's tests and making him decide. It had him and his janitor both locked into this thing. The janitor was unhealthy and smoked and had bad lung problems. Uh, and the test was to see how long they could hold their breath, whereas he was more healthy, so he should win. And that one was quite tense because it was literally long seconds of them holding their breath, practically no sound until one of them breathed, and then the little thing kept crunching in slower and slower. Yeah, it was an amazing little tense moment. Uh, Another scene with him having to choose between one of his assistant who's young, or his secretary who's old, and his secretary has people that will miss her and people that depend on her, whereas his young assistant doesn't have anybody who'll miss him. So who does he pick to save? It's up to him. And according to his formula, the young person should be the one that gets saved. But he didn't. He chose the other one because he knew her. Feelings were coming into play because he was being forced to face it. And then he's got the one about the bullpen. 6 of his employees, uh, all strapped to this carousel, and he can only save 2 of them by causing himself pain to push down a button to make the gun mechanism shoot into the air instead of into one of the 6 people. And he ends up saving 2 of them. Um, and the last guy that wasn't going to be getting saved because he saved 2 before him just rages at the man and says something that very, very similar to something that one of his other one of the clients of the insurance company said to him. Just raged at him to look at him when he's killing him. That sort of thing, that impactful storytelling that you've got going there. I like it. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by, like, I watch a lot of Criminal Minds and a lot of crime drama. I'm fascinated by the criminal mind, the serial killer, and so on and so forth. That sort of dynamic. It makes for interesting storytelling and interesting villainy and evil. And as somebody who does write stories and play villainous characters in role play, um, as well as DMing, storytelling, however you want to say it, learning and being fascinated by villainy is something of a staple. So this is one of the reasons why I'm fascinated with the Saw franchise and the way the story elements all kind of weave together. Um, so yeah, and there's going to be a new one I hear coming out in 2017, next year, Halloween next year. So I will be going and checking that out. I believe it's called Saw Legacy, or at least that's tentatively what it is. So I don't know what's going to be happening there, but I am looking forward to it. Uh, so we'll see what happens with that. But that's pretty much all I've got to say for this wonderful thing. I just kind of wanted to touch on why I like the Saw movies, why I think they're pretty cool and enjoyable. So to all of you out there who are playing the little game, I definitely hope you win and hope you were paying attention. So get those answers in before the deadline ends. But until next time, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. I usually try to get at least one video a week, if not more. Seem to be pretty good at hitting that more to get at least 2 or 3 out a week. But the very bare minimum that I will promise you is 1 video a week. So do all that and throw a comment in that comment section. If you like the Saw movies, what do you think about them? Do you agree with my little impromptu analysis that they're not torture porn? They have more of a story element to them, and they seem to be focusing more on what the people do rather than what happens to them. So yeah, throw those comments in that comment section. I would love to get a discussion going with some people. And until next time, you all take care, and I will see you around.